This is News Today with WDW News Today. I'm Tom Corliss of WDWNT.com. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell to make sure you never miss the latest from the Disney theme parks all around the world. Here now the news for August 28th, 2024. Actually, before we get to the news real quick, I want to mention a couple things. So I mentioned this briefly a couple weeks ago, and the truth of the matter is, since last November, there has been this thing called the Google Helpful Content Algorithm, which was an intent by Google to try to eliminate in your search results content that is deemed not to be helpful. And especially those of us in the travel news industry have been hit very hard by this over the last several months in a big way. The good news is it seems like Google is starting to fix that, and we've had an August that is more normal for us, but we had a really rough June and July. And so because we pride ourselves on being, number one, an employer in this industry that is, I would dare say, from what I've been told, the highest paying. Our people are paid the most of anyone in this industry, and because we'd like to keep those people. What I'm asking is basically we could use some extra funds the next couple months, as this is also happens to be our busiest time of year. There is a lot of money that goes into covering Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, Halloween time at Disneyland Resort, the Halloween festivities at Walt Disney World, obviously the EPCOT International Food and Wine Festival is a big chunk every year, and throughout this time of year, this continues into November, when we begin coverage of all the Christmas stuff that'll be on the East Coast and the West Coast and beyond. In order to keep all of that rolling, as usual, there are great ways you can fund the news that you see here on this show. For those of you who don't know, I'm not the only one here. This isn't like a lot of the other channels you watch where there's someone sitting there and they do it in their basement, and there are not a lot of bills to pay associated with the operation. We have a studio here. There's Jake back there in the booth. There are other people that work out of the office here. There are reporters who are in the parks every single day getting the news that you see here. And then the writers and editors who are publishing all of that news on our website before it gets onto the show here. So there are a lot of cogs in this wheel, and it takes, as Walt Disney once said, it takes a lot of money to make these dreams a reality. So some things I'm going to mention real quick, if you happen to have disposable income, are great ways to support us while also getting something in return for supporting the news you watch every week. Number one, I believe we still have 20 or 30 Gerties, rhymes, left. This is a great way to support us, and you get something in return. So these are available at WDWNT.shop. We also have a ton of other great stuff there. We still have that Tower of Terror 30th anniversary button-up shirt. It's still on sale for $60. We're going to leave it at that price until they're sold out. And when they're sold out, they're gone. Same with Gertie. So when these are gone, they are gone. We also have other great stuff that's been there for a little bit that's a lot of it in low quantities. Our Figment 40th anniversary stuff we did. There was a pin and some other merchandise. There's all sorts of great stuff on there at WDWNT.shop. We also have remaining anniversary lithographs from Stage 89, our celebration of 35 years of Hollywood studios. So we still have the main print, which is the original painting that was done by former Imagineer Eric Robinson for our office here. So if you come to the show, if you do happen to come to News Today or News Tonight, out in the lobby, you get to see the actual real painting of this, but this is a way for you to bring that home. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. I love it so much. Beyond that, of course, there's the WDWNT Interglobe Society. That's our Patreon program. You can join at patreon.com/WDWNT. And of course, there's all sorts of benefits you get there. There are what we call core bucks at certain levels that have access to a prize wall where we have all sorts of stuff sitting in cabinets back there that you could cash in the core bucks for and get sent to you. There's post shows, there's discounts on tickets if you are coming to News Tonight or coming to a filming of News Today. There's discounts on that. There's discounts whenever we do events. All sorts of great benefits to being a WIGS member as well. In addition to that, we just introduced subscriptions on our Instagram. So if you go to the WDWNT Instagram, I'm sharing basically a little bit every day or every other day of behind the scenes, what we're up to, what we're finding at the parks, what's going on here at the studio, etc. That's $2.99 a month. And again, you could subscribe by going to our Instagram account for that. We are working on figuring out the program here for YouTube. I know we talked about that before for those of you that don't want to do Patreon. That being said, the Patreon subscribers will get access to the same things, and it will be cheaper than YouTube. But if you are really that against entering a credit card into Patreon specifically, we are going to introduce the YouTube memberships as well. So stay tuned for that. But again, I will tell you, it will be cheaper if you do it through Patreon. We're just going to do it as an alternative for people that just don't want to leave the web page they're currently on, which will sound crazy to some of you, but for some people, it's about not entering one more URL as they peruse the internet. You'd be surprised. So for those of you who are lazy, in many cases like I am, in that way, we will eventually have a button here for you to become a member here and subscribe here on YouTube as well, and there'll be some fun offerings as part of that to help us fund everything we do here every day at WDWNT. We thank you for your support. If you don't have any money to throw away, there are great free ways that help us, not like the roads, but there are great ways you can help us that will not cost you a dime. Number one is hitting the like button, making sure you're subscribed, and making sure you watch the news 3 times a week and all the videos we put out. Another great thing you could watch and support is the Shanghai vlog series. I know that's been out for a couple weeks now. It's a 9-part series I did with pretty much every moment of my trip to Shanghai Disney Resort. You know, just throw those on in the background while you're working or whatever. It all helps us out in a big way. So we thank you for your support, and now let's get on to the news. On August 26th, the Jungle Cruise closed for a nearly 2-month-long refurbishment at the Magic Kingdom. The start date for the refurb has been known for over a month and a half, and Disney previously stated the attraction would reopen to guests before the winter holiday season. In early August, the Walt Disney World park calendar showed that the attraction would reopen on October 18th. Disney hasn't released any specific details about the refurbishment and what's going to be part of it. However, a permit was filed with Underwater Engineering Services Incorporated in April of this year for general construction. That permit is good until October of next year. Generally, permits are filed for a 1-year duration. So the fact this permit was filed for longer could mean that extensive work will be done to the attraction. It may just be the nature of the permit. They might just have a year to finish it, even though they plan on being done. This is weird because the Jungle Cruise has had a lot of refurbishment work the last couple of years. Earlier this year, they did a extensive dock refurbishment without closing the attraction. In 2021, you probably remember, they added new scenes to remove the culturally insensitive ones. But the interesting thing is, I think it was like a year ago, I don't remember exactly, but we talked about how there were some structural problems at the back of the temple that had temporary tarps up. It looked real bad. But essentially, they knew that was a problem. My assumption here, again, no inside information. My assumption here is this refurb has something to do with fixing those issues, because basically the reason the tarps and all that went up was they decided they couldn't afford to close the attraction for the time being, and so they needed to safely operate it for a little while. So my assumption now is this was scheduled in that time. It takes several months to schedule these things, and now they're going to go in and fix that. But it could be anything. We'll wait and see. I'd be shocked if there are scene changes after they just did a couple not that long ago. I would be very, very surprised, but you never know. Jared Leto, who will play Ares in the upcoming TRON Ares, recently rode TRON Lightcycle Run at the Magic Kingdom. In the shared clip, Leto talked about wanting to sit in the front row of the attraction, and that's exactly where he ended up. Surprise. The photo shows him just after he boarded the Lightcycle putting on his brave face. Leto said the following about the ride: "This ride goes pretty hard. Has anyone tried it?" I think we have. TRON Ares is the 3rd installment in the TRON franchise, and it'll be released on October 10th, 2025. 9 Inch Nails will provide the music for the film. Jeff Bridges will return as Kevin Flynn and star alongside Leto in the film. Both appeared at D23 in August. TRON Lightcycle Run, of course, opened at the Magic Kingdom on April 4th, 2023. A lightning bolt effect from the 1994 to 2007 version of Spaceship Earth has returned to the attraction after seemingly being non-functional for several years. The effect can be spotted just after the reveal of Earth towards the end of the ride. On your backward descent to unload, the lightning bolt flashes for a few seconds off to the right side of the ride vehicle. The effect's return was first spotted by Zach Haltman, who reported his findings via a post on X. In the replies to his post, Haltman also remarked that the effect is originally from the Jeremy Irons version of Spaceship Earth, which again was presented from '94 to '07 before being replaced by the current Judi Dench version. Of course, this isn't the first long-lost effect to be restored on Spaceship Earth in recent memory. Back in November, in the Phoenician scene, the water reflection effect was restored after being gone for about 15 years. Spaceship Earth was previously slated to get another new update, transforming into Spaceship Earth: Our Shared Story. The ride was scheduled to close for almost 2 years for the update, but the COVID-19 pandemic caused the reimagining to be delayed and ultimately canceled. Spaceship Earth ended up reopening in July of 2020 with the park, but there has never been an update on that refurb project ever since. So yeah, it seems pretty dead at this point, but supposedly the ride has a lot of mechanical issues that are going to need to be addressed at some point. So something's going to happen. Something's going to have to happen sooner rather than later. With the 2024 EPCOT International Food and Wine Festival kicking off on August 29th, the festival menus are finally being rolled out to the global marketplaces in the park. Now, I try not to read you menus here on the show, and I'm going to keep up that tradition. We are posting the menus as they are rolled out in the park at WDWNT.com. There is a post that specifically has them all for you. It has the photos of all of them. You can check out the prices. You could get ready to see what you're going to try and all that. But go check out the post. Also, of course, decor went up today as well. It's very similar to what it's been the last couple of years, sort of that Art Deco, Remy stuff. This sort of flat, I don't even know what to call this, these flat decorations that keep going up every year. I don't know. The decor for these events used to be really great. And I don't know what happened to Food and Wine specifically. Really went to this flat style a couple years ago, and it's kind of been stuck with it. And it's a little stale at this point, but they're still doing it. But I guess people don't really care. People just want to try food. That's what they came for, Food and Wine, and not Decor Festival. But you can check out those photos too at WDWNT.com. And if you want to visit the EPCOT International Food and Wine Festival, well, you want to shop with our sponsors at Be Our Guest Vacations. Your dream vacation begins with Be Our Guest and their concierge team of expert vacation planners. Head on over to BeOurGuestVacations.com/WDWNT, and their team will design your next magical vacation, from the Walt Disney World and Disneyland Resorts to Disney Cruise Line to Adventures by Disney and more. They're also able to book unforgettable VIP tours where you and your group can experience the ultimate park day. And the best part is their concierge services are 100% free, so book today and make it their problem. Make them continually shop for the best deal for you. Make them deal with booking an inaugural season cruise on the Disney Treasure or the Disney Destiny for you. Let them remind you when it's time to book those excursions, because I never remember. So why not make it someone else's problem? Please support Be Our Guest Vacations. As work continues on the attractions reimagining, the Test Track Canopy supports have almost been completely dismantled at EPCOT. As of recording, they might actually be fully gone at this point. But in our last update, the center portion of the canopy had come down. As of Tuesday, August 27th, just the scaffolding tower near the single rider and lightning lane entrances remains. The ride closed back in June to make way for updates. From a distance, you can see the remaining scaffolding tower still holding on, but I think as of today, it's gone. Concept art for the ride's updated entrance does not include the canopy. It is gone in that art. Instead, there's a new overhang, kind of a new structure jutting out of the lower level of the front of the building. There will also be an updated attraction sign, and it's all scheduled to open in 2025. Once open, Test Track 3.0, as we're calling it, will celebrate today's innovation while highlighting the past, present, and future, with Disney drawing inspiration from the World of Motion, the attraction that was replaced by the original Test Track in the 1990s. Disney has updated the available attractions list to exclude MuppetVision 3D from extended evening hours available to qualifying resort hotel guests at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Starting on select nights beginning Wednesday, September 25th, Hollywood Studios will stay open for extended evening hours from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. for, again, those qualifying deluxe resort guests. Last week, we reported that the extended evening hours were returning to the park, and MuppetVision would be on the list of attractions available. However, as of today, it has been removed. This is notable, I guess, given the persistent rumor of where people think the Monsters, Inc. land may be located at Hollywood Studios. Of course, at D23, Disney announced that land, but did not say where it was going. Of course, according to our sources, it's going to replace the animation building over in the animation courtyard. That's what is currently home to Star Wars Launch Bay. So that building and the backstage portions of it, which are offices and a parking garage, it is believed all of that will be knocked down to make way for this expansion. Some people believe that the other piece of concept art that looks less like Animation Courtyard was for the Muppets area, and it does have a 2020 date on it, as for when Greg Pro did the art for this. And let's remember, that was the Bob Chapek era, so it is more than, look, I will say, it is more than possible that 4 years ago, under Bob Chapek, that the Walt Disney Company imagined getting rid of MuppetVision for something that they would deem would draw more guests. I find it hard to believe that the current regime would get rid of MuppetVision. I don't believe that. So there's a number of things working against the fact that this might be the end of MuppetVision. Number one, MuppetVision is on the operating calendar beyond that September date for extended evening hours, so it's still going to be open no matter what. So this is a case of what I said on the last show. I said, it's weird that Muppets was on that list, because why would you need MuppetVision during extended evening hours, right? Extended evening hours are usually a chance to experience attractions that have long queues during the day. MuppetVision is pretty accessible throughout the day, right? There are plenty of things at Hollywood Studios that have 30, 60, 90-minute or more lines all day long. And those are the things you want the benefit of skipping the line for. Probably during that 2-hour period, you don't need to go through the full 20-something minute experience of the pre-show and full show. For MuppetVision, that eats up a lot of your time when you could just walk into that. You could show up a little before the evening hours, right? Or, I mean, it depends when MuppetVision is closing for the day. But you could walk in and experience that attraction at any point. Why waste your time during a benefit that you have paid for by staying at a deluxe resort, a deluxe villa, etc.? Those are very expensive, so you best get your money's worth out of these extra offerings. So yeah, I wouldn't read into this too much. We still firmly believe that Monsters is going to go in the animation courtyard area. I would be shocked if it's Muppets. I would be very, very shocked. They are well aware of what level people care about with Muppets. And I know someone's going to come in the comments and go, what about the rivers of America? Are we going to pretend that the world cares about the rivers of America at the level they care about the last work of art from one of the greatest American entertainers of all time, Jim Henson? Are we going to pretend those two things are on the same level? Because they are not. MuppetVision, again, is the magnum opus of one of the greatest dreamers in American entertainment history, as opposed to something Walt Disney put into his parks beginning in the 1950s because it's the best they could do at the time, right? And I'll continue to harp on that there are some things from the early days of Disney parks that just simply did not hang on and remain relevant, right? The Skyway was one of those things, right? Yeah, I have a nostalgia for the Skyway. I always buy merchandise with the Skyway on it when it comes out. But would the Skyway hold up as a meaningful attraction still? Like, if that was still operating right now, what do you think the wait for that would be? Would people care in a park where you could ride all these amazing newer things? I just don't know. Like the railroad, there's something special about the railroad, right? You can tell there's a craftsmanship to those trains, and they are, you know, they meant something very special to Walt Disney, and they have an important meaning to the history of not just the parks, but specifically the first park in Disneyland. The railroad makes sense. You know, a ride system that has no, you know, historical significance to the company, that isn't unique to the company, that kind of allowed you to see spaces in the parks you probably shouldn't have been looking at to begin with, that were kind of ugly. You know, time has passed some of those things by, like the Shooting Gallery and the Skyway and, you know, Tom Sawyer Island, and those sorts of things in some places I think are no longer relevant. I think MuppetVision is the opposite, where, you know, Disney owns the Muppets. They have an obligation, I think, to keep Jim Henson's memory alive. And in the same way that they are currently building an attraction at Disneyland that celebrates the life of Walt Disney, I think it is important to have an attraction that celebrates the life of Jim Henson. And that's what MuppetVision does. So MuppetVision is untouchable. It is absolutely untouchable. If they want to do some meaningful update at some point that makes it clear that it's more of a museum piece and gives people like the history of the Muppets and more maybe in that pre-show area, or even maybe, you know, stage one, the store outside, right, has been abandoned. If someone just wanted to turn that into a, you know, what wouldn't cost a lot of money is to staff, operate, and or construct a small Jim Henson museum in Hollywood Studios, right? You would need probably 2 cast members to operate it. It'd be another capacity add for the park. It would be meaningful to your guests. There's opportunity there, and cheap opportunity at that, if no one's convinced they need to spend money on the Muppets in 2024. But the other thing to talk about is WDI just did a number of updates to that attraction. They just replaced all the seating. They put a new projection mapping effect in the show. They updated a bunch of the old effects. They fixed that smoke effect. That wasn't that long ago either. A bunch of TLC just happened at MuppetVision. That would, you know, obviously there are times where the left hand and the right hand in the Walt Disney Company don't talk to each other, but Walt Disney Imagineering's implementing those updates. That's the department that would know if they're drawing up a replacement for MuppetVision, right? So that's my thought on that. And people sometimes bring up Great Movie Ride, right? The Turner Classic Movies update. From what I'd been told, they knew, like the team that worked on that Turner Classic Movies update knew about what was then the Great Mickey Ride being in development. That was not an unknown thing. It was a way to, they felt it was a way to extend the life of the movie ride a couple more years, which it did, right? I always liked that update. I think it made sense. You know, I still think, you know, I've talked about it before. I still think the movie ride could have been updated again to remain relevant and stay, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I don't think the Muppets updates were like, oh, let's spend all this money because we're going to close it in 12 to 18 months. I find that very, very hard to believe. And until Disney says anything otherwise, I'm going to stick with Animation Courtyard because that's what makes sense to me. And let's remember, they have told the people in those offices and the people that park in that parking garage that time is almost up there and that they're moving them. So, you know, there's enough reasons to believe that this is not going to replace Muppets, even if this, you know, extended evening hours thing kind of leans in the other direction. Although, again, I think there's no reason to operate it during that event. Even though 2024 is not yet over, Walt Disney World Resort has announced the 2025 dates for Disney After Hours. For 2025, Disney After Hours will return on January 6th at the Magic Kingdom, January 22nd at Hollywood Studios, and February 27th at EPCOT. At the Magic Kingdom and EPCOT, the event will run from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. For Hollywood Studios, the event typically will run from 9:30 to 12:30. Guests can also enter the parks as early as 7 p.m. to make the most of their evening. The full lineup of dates for each park are as follows. At Magic Kingdom, it's January 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, February 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th, March 3rd, 17th, 24th, and 31st, April 7th and 28th, May 5th, 12th, and 19th. Guests will be able to enjoy both TRON Lightcycle Run and Tiana's Bayou Adventure via a standby queue at the Magic Kingdom version of the event. EPCOT's dates are February 27th, May 8th and 29th, June 19th and 26th, July 10th, 24th, and 31st, August 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th, and September 11th and 25th. At the studios, they'll be January 22nd and 29th, February 12th and 19th, March 5th and 26th, April 1st and 30th, May 14th and the 28th, June 4th, 11th, and 25th, July 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th, August 6th, 20th, and 27th, and September 3rd. Do note that on March 26th and April 1st, Disney After Hours will run from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. at the studios. Ticket prices range from $175 to $185 plus tax for Magic Kingdom, $155 to $175 plus tax for EPCOT, and $155 to $185 plus tax for Hollywood Studios, depending on the night you attend. Discounts are available for Disney Vacation Club members and annual pass holders to visit only the EPCOT and Hollywood Studios events. Disney After Hours tickets will go on sale for guests staying at select Walt Disney World Resort hotels, the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin, and Shades of Green on September 4th. For all other guests, tickets will go on sale September 10th. Disneyland Resort has announced the reopening date for the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which was temporarily closed while the former Critter Country is transformed into the newly named Bayou Country at Disneyland Park. The attraction, as well as Pooh Corner, will reopen to guests in what is now Bayou Country on August 29th. The news was shared via the official Disney Eats account on Instagram, which also announced that a new Blue Honey Pot apple will be available to celebrate the reopening at Pooh Corner. To celebrate Halloween, Disneyland Resort is releasing a new set of Disney Villains trading cards exclusively available to Magic Key holders. The first trading card features the Evil Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and was released on August 26th. The Evil Queen trading card was the first of the set. The Evil Queen appears inside of a window staring at a golden chalice that spews green mist. The top of the window says 1937, the year Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was released. Her name and the film title appear on a yellow border at the bottom of the card, but the Evil Queen doesn't appear in just one form. She also appears as the witch, the form she takes when she convinces Snow White to eat the poison apple, also known as the Old Hag. The back of the trading card features fun facts about the Evil Queen. They are as follows. Her henchman is the Huntsman. Her infamous quote, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And a nefarious fact, she is the first character to ever speak in a Disney feature-length animated movie. The trading card is available at Disneyana, at Disneyland Park, and Kingswell Shop in Disney California Adventure Park through August 29th. The item is limited to 1 per week per Magic Key holder. Ticket and park reservations are required to get the item, and a new trading card will be released every week until September 19th, and each trading card, again, only available Monday through Thursday of the week they are released. The red car trolley will close permanently at Disney California Adventure next year. According to Scott Gustin on X, Disney confirmed the red car trolley will close in 2025 to allow construction to begin on the Avengers campus expansion, which necessitates the removal of the red car trolley barn. The concept art shows the expanded Avengers campus footprint, allowing for the upcoming 3rd and 4th rides, being Stark Flight Lab and Avengers Infinity Defense. The addition of both rides is expected to double the size of Avengers Campus. No other closures to accommodate the expansion have been announced at this time. The red car trolley opened in June of 2012 with the full reimagining of Disneyland Resort's second gate. It's an iconic part of Buena Vista Street and the park in general. An official closing date has not been announced. They've simply said it will be very early in 2025. We had heard construction was going to begin in January for the Avengers Campus expansion, so we think you probably only have a couple weeks left to experience this. There's been conjecture online. I don't know why everybody feels the need to fight the facts. As of late, it seems to be a thing that keeps happening, but Disney has said they are discontinuing the attraction. That does not mean there are plans to bring it back. It is going away, right? It is low capacity. I'm going to voice this from their point of view, and then I'm going to go on a rant. For those of you that think I'm a medialist shill, I'll give you your rant. But from the operational side, to understand why the decision is made, right? Obviously, there will be a bigger operational impact to adding 2 D or E-ticket attractions to the park as opposed to operating a ride that seats 15, 20 people. I forget how many people can sit in the trolley. Also, since Avengers Campus opened, the route was shortened, right? The last stop is now with, like in front of Guardians, right? Like it's a real short run. And someone said, oh, this is a big loss for those of us with accessibility issues. And I just thought, like, I think it's faster, whether by wheel or walking under any circumstance, to just walk to Hollywoodland. I don't like riding the red car trolley has never been about efficiency or accomplishing actual travel through the park. You know, I look at it the same way as I look at the Main Street vehicles. The Main Street vehicles are not a means typically to get anywhere faster due to the street traffic, right? Usually it's a fun, cute ride to take up and down the street. That's the purpose of it, not actual transportation in many cases. You can use it as transportation if you decide you're not in a rush to get anywhere and are like, oh yeah, we're gonna go that way anyway. Why don't we, this is a good time to ride the trolley then. Yeah, but primary function is transportation? No, it's not. It's not. It was a cute, nostalgic, thoughtful addition to the park in 2012. And look, I am heartbroken at the death of DCA 2.0 because I feel genuinely, you know, Bob Iger came in and they looked at that park and thought, what would fix this park? And they're like, what does this park not have? It doesn't have true, meaningful Disney e-tickets. It doesn't have a real Disney dark ride. It doesn't have a nighttime show. And it doesn't have a nostalgic park entrance, right? And so Buena Vista Street was an attempt to give that park a lot of heart. I think they absolutely nailed it. And the red car was part of that, right? It is mostly a local audience, and the red car is something that existed in Hollywood and LA for a very, very long time. It's a part of the history there, and it certainly was a thing when Walt Disney arrived on that train from New York. You know, that was waiting for him in Hollywood. The red car was there. I've always had an affinity for it. I miss the Red Car Newsboys show dearly. That was such a wonderful thing. It's such a shame that was taken away from us. And now to lose the whole trolley. I know we just went through this long period where it was closed post-COVID. It was very sad. Everyone was very excited to see it come back. And now it's like, nope, now you're going to lose it for good. Makes me really sad. Makes me really sad. Now, look, do I think they're going to end up parking the thing out there as like a photo op? Absolutely. I think it's going to end up at the front of Buena Vista Street, at least one of them. I don't know if they'll park a second one. But I tend to believe as a stationary prop, it will be used. Do I think it will operate again? No. I don't believe Disney is going to spend the money to build another trolley barn somewhere. And I don't even know where they would build it. Because if we look at all the expansion that's about to happen at this park, it is all out to that left side, right? When you enter the park. All that expansion's out to the left side. That's where, it's not Grizzly Peak, folks. That's where Avatar is going. It's definitely going in Hollywoodland. And then, you know, Avengers Campus is out that side too. And so if that's the case and they really are knocking down the Hyperion Theater and that's maybe where Coco's going, that one I'm not so sure. But either way, the Pandora and the Avengers expansion would not leave them anywhere to put the trolley barn. And also the trolley can't go to Pandora, right? It can't. This isn't Mr. Rogers' trolley. It doesn't go through a magic portal and go to other places in the universe. It's not possible. But I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to run to Avengers Campus again at some point. I think that they don't see a value in running it, which is sad because I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I'm very upset with them. I'm way more upset about this than Rivers of America. I think this is a way more meaningful thing that seems cheaper and easier to find a solution for. I pray they will, but I don't know that I'm holding my breath that someone's going to fight to operate an attraction with such a small operational impact that so few guests a day ride on, even though it adds so much atmosphere to the front of that park. And, you know, Buena Vista Street needs life on it. It needs life on it. It needs the five and dime car, and it needs the Streetmosphere characters, and it needs the red car trolley going by. It needs those wigwags moving, and because I can't see taking down the trolley lines and all of that. I can't imagine ripping out the track and taking down the trolley lines. I think it would kill a lot of the atmosphere up there for sure. So I hope they're not going to do that. You know, there's a part of me that hopes someone will figure it out, but I'm not holding my breath for the return of the trolley. While Deadpool and Wolverine continues to break box office records, Storytime with Deadpool, a California Adventure, continues to prove popular amongst guests. During a recent performance of the show, Deadpool made a joke about the Disney Plus terms and conditions, referencing the recent wrongful death lawsuit filed against the company. Shared via TikTok user Goth Girl Does Disney, Deadpool makes a reference during the retelling of Cinderpool. As Wolverine stands alongside him, Deadpool says, "Cinderpool was late because he had to read every single page in the terms and conditions when he signed up for Disney+." A burst of nervous laughter and noises of shock followed from the crowd, seemingly surprised that the character would once again take it that far at a Disney-owned theme park. Wolverine followed up with, "I don't get it," and Deadpool simply responded, "They do." The joke, of course, references the recent discourse surrounding the wrongful death lawsuit filed after a woman passed away from anaphylaxis resulting from a meal at Raglan Road at Disney Springs. Disney had previously asked a Florida court to move the case to arbitration, citing a waiver included in the terms and conditions for Disney+. But Disney later issued a statement in response to their motion for arbitration, saying the company was merely defending themselves against the plaintiff's attorney's attempt to include them in the lawsuit against the restaurant. Then Disney Parks Chairman Josh D'Amaro released a statement of his own following reactions to the motion, confirming that Disney would waive its right to arbitration and have the matter proceed in court. So this is the territory you enter when you allow characters in the park to improv. We assume this was improv. We don't know. It's very on brand for the Deadpool character, and I would hope management has a good sense of humor about it, because I think they should. I think if you're going to have a character like that in the parks, then you know, you have to allow them to play with the daily discourse. I don't, you know, obviously there's a death involved. The joke is not really about the death. It's about the lawyer action after the suit was filed. And I feel like you can joke with this. You can't joke about this part, but you can joke about this part. You can joke about the evil mega corporation. That part's okay. And that's what the joke is about. So I don't think they crossed the line. I think it's great. I want to see more of this. I hope this is still running when I get out to Disneyland in a couple days, because I didn't get to, D23 was very busy. I didn't get to see this, and I desperately want to see this. Or just keep it. Keep this permanently. With the money you're saving from not operating the red car trolley, if you guys want to just give us this show permanently, that would be very thoughtful. So maybe do that. Images of the newly added scenes aboard Le Pays de Canopy, the Storybook Land Canal boats, have been shared just days before the attraction reopens this Friday at Disneyland Paris. Natasha Rafalski, the president of Disneyland Paris, posted the images of the new scenes to her official Instagram account. There are 3 new scenes inspired by Walt Disney Animation Studios films Frozen and Winnie the Pooh, and Pixar Animation Studios' Up. The Frozen and Winnie the Pooh scenes were announced with concept art last October, and Up was announced this past May. Just last month, we reported the return of the giant storybook with new designs, with a new design to the Storybook Land canal boats. This refurbishment is thanks in part to the attraction's new presenting sponsor, Vittel. It's a water company. In the first photo, you can see the tiny bridge that leads to Winnie the Pooh's home. That's Pooh Stick Bridge, I believe. The treehouse looks as though it was pulled right from the pages of the storybook, as it sits nestled beneath Rapunzel's tower. If you look close enough, you can even see Pooh and Tigger playing just in front of the miniature treehouse. Pooh is lying on his back as Tigger, in his iconic way, bounces on Pooh's tummy. The Frozen scene depicts a winter wonderland. This scene is reminiscent of the first Frozen film, when Elsa ices over all of Arendelle. The building on the far left appears to be Wandering Oaken's trading post, with a small shed next door. Elsa's ice castle, or ice palace, sits atop the mountain on the far right. At the bottom right, you can barely see Elsa and Anna in the sled, while Kristoff stands beside Sven the reindeer. The final new image shared is that of Up, which is added at the end of the attraction. A small storybook can be seen with Le Halt on the left, that's Up in French, and in a blue sans serif font, and an illustration of Doug on the right. The Up house is seen precariously floating, or perhaps resting atop the miniature rocks on the journey to Paradise Falls. And there are small figures of Carl and Russell holding onto the blue hose, just like they do in the movie. For those of you familiar with this attraction, they did get rid of some older scenes. What I think is interesting is what was decided needed to be changed and what wasn't. So the Peter and the Wolf, or what was it, Pierre Lalou? I think that's the French, scene is gone and replaced with Frozen. And obviously there's all this new Frozen decor. They have the Wandering Oakens and they have the Ice Palace. What kills me is the trees are still very much in the style of the classic Disney animated short, Peter and the Wolf. So they didn't go all out necessarily. Yeah, and then the heartbreaking one for me is Up, because that replaced Return to Oz, which I loved for a multitude of reasons. Number one, it was weird. It was a weird choice. Number two was the music choice for that scene. They used the Main Street Electrical Parade, the special ending the Electrical Parade had when that film came out. They used the music from that in that scene, which was wild. So I get it. It's not really necessarily, Disney made that movie, right? But Oz is not associated with Disney. It's not considered part of the Disney fairy tales, right? Return to Oz did not do well. It's not something a lot of people remember, but it still makes me really sad that that was ripped out. And for those of you wondering why they put Up there, the reason Oz was there was they wanted to tie the park back to America. And there are not a lot of American fairy tales. The most famous American fairy tale is The Wizard of Oz. And so that's why that was the end scene. So Up technically would be an American fairy tale. We very much assume that movie takes place in America, and at least was made by an American film company. And so, yeah, that scene does take place in South or Central America, though. So it does work against it a little bit. I don't know if I like look, Peter and the Wolf being replaced by Frozen, I get it, that's fine. Pooh edition looks great, love it, that's great. The Up House was a weird choice. That was a weird choice. I'm never gonna forgive them for taking away my Oz scene. Never gonna forgive them for that. But I know that the fans in Paris are excited because again, these are the little updates that we are accustomed to a lot of these, whether we're Disneyland regulars or Disney World regulars. These things happen from time to time. Paris, these things do not happen from time to time. So I think the fandom there is so excited to see some TLC given to one of the older attractions in the park, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary. Not the park. The park already did that, but this ride is now reaching its 30th anniversary. This in Casey Jr. So I get it. It is great to see TLC, but at the same time, the things we seem to be losing at the parks these last couple of years are the weird things that, as time marches on, become weirder and make less sense. But for those of us that know why they're there, it's kind of a cool thing. It's, that we're in the know and we appreciate that. And so those are the things we're losing, especially in Paris. I think the weird, fun things that make Disneyland Paris seem to be vanishing. Whether that was like Fantasia Gelati or the weird Zorro restaurant or this Oz scene on Storybook Land canal boats. But that is the march of time, I guess. I'm not happy about all of them. Some of those, the Coco restaurant turned out all right. And honestly, the Luca room at Bella Notte is very pretty. But this one, I don't know. They could have done the most amazing job, and I was still going to be mad about Oz, no matter what. Anyway. For the absolute latest on these stories and all that didn't make it into today's show, be sure to check WDWNT.com and follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. As I mentioned earlier, you can support the entire team behind this show and others by joining the WDWNT Interglobe Society at patreon.com/WDWNT. Get access to exclusive content, discounted show and event tickets, and more. Special shout out to all of our WIGS members watching who make this show happen every week. For the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is Tom Corliss saying, enjoy the rest of your today and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.